All right, good afternoon. Let's call the Committee on Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion to order. Let the record reflect that Councilwoman Carter and myself are present, and Councilman Spatafor has an excused absence. Public comment?
I make a motion
Oh.
to approve the June 11th minutes as presented.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Seeing no public comment here, because Randy, I know you're here for the agenda item, we shall get to our agenda item. If you mind coming to the table, and I see we have a resolution to consider today. Randy, if you're our person, if you could introduce yourself and speak on the request for the resolution.
Okay. Randy Dykhuis, 418 North Sycamore. I am the current chair of the Mayor's Advisory Committee on Sustainability. And we have been considering the topic of extended producer responsibility for several months. And there was a bill in the legislature last session. It died and did not make it for a final vote. And when that happened, we decided that we would put together a resolution urging the city council to put Lansing on the map as being in favor of a state law to implement extended producer responsibility for all packaging and products. So I don't have a lot to add beyond what's in the letter and the resolution, except to say it's a really good thing. For way too long, it's been the responsibility of consumers and municipalities to cope with an ever rising amount of waste and recyclable material. And it is a very volatile environment to be in. For consumers, it's hard to know sometimes where things ought to go. When your cell phone needs to be replaced, when your laptop dies, you need to get rid of your refrigerator. All of these things are waste products that somebody has to deal with, and now it's the consumer that has to deal with them. And the consumer will then put the onus on their municipality to get rid of it in most cases. Go to a landfill and go somewhere else. And sometimes we don't know where it should go because we understand that, electronic, for example, have hazardous materials in them, and they shouldn't go to a landfill before you put them. So what extended producer responsibility does, it brings the producers of that waste into the picture and says, you guys have to be responsible, or have to have it, if not totally responsible, at least play a part in the end of life of your products. So it's not just seeing them out the door and then everything is done and they absolve responsibility. So what this does is a number of things. One of the things it does, it levels the playing field for producers and manufacturers of products, because right now, some of them are responsible. They do think about end of life issues, and that can have an effect on what their prices are. And unfortunately, producers that don't give two hoots about end of life can offer things at a cheaper price sometimes. So this makes it fairer for all producers when they all have to take into account how their products are going to be disposed of in the end.
Question. So the bill that died in the state, was it on party lines or something else?
My understanding, yes, it would have been primarily supported by Democrats. But how do I say this graciously? It was not something that caught the attention of the speaker, and he did not push it forward during lame duck. So it died.
So these laws, how would it, like, so producers are global, they're national, how would, let's say, a producer in wherever know to deal with a law in Michigan if it passes?
Right, right. That's a good question. So if a multinational has a factory in Michigan, for example, they would be obligated, if the legislature designs the law in a way that corresponds to how other states have done this, and there are 7 other states that currently have EPR laws on the books, and there's about a dozen more that are considering them this year. So this is not something where Michigan would be out on the bleeding edge. They would be in the vanguard of moving this kind of law forward. To get back to your question, if the factory is in Michigan, they are already bound by a number of laws that the state has. There are labor laws, there are other health and safety laws, there are environmental laws. So this would be one more law that they would have to follow.
So would that apply to, would this law, again, it's a state law, I understand.
It's state, right?
But is that for factories in Michigan only, or?
Any company that produces something, whether it is a bottle of water or a computer or a giant turbine that that some factory uses
In Michigan?
in Michigan.
How do you keep the accountability and things under compliance?
So yeah, so again, that's something that the legislature have to design, but the way it works in most states is that there is a fund, which is usually operated by a quasi-governmental agency or a nonprofit that everybody pays into. So they pay into based on what is required to dispose of their product. So companies that have products that can be easily recycled or have minimal packaging pay less. So there is a financial incentive for them to be more responsible in how they package and produce their products.
How are consumers going to have awareness and the behaviors changes and shift if Michigan decides to?
It takes a lot of burden off of them because for a lot of these products, it would be because the producer is paying to take care of the product, the consumer, they're not off the hook entirely, but they don't have the same level of responsibility. And it really helps municipalities because right now, municipality is totally on the hook for recycled materials. So Lansing, for example, has to collect the material, has to collect the recycling, get it to a company that handles recyclables, and they are at the mercy of the market. If the bottom falls out of a particular recycling market, for example, let's say paper, price all of a sudden declines by 10, 15, 50%, whatever it is that the city is getting, they're hosed and there's no recourse for the municipality. So all of a sudden, what they had been counting on for recycling their waste, they are no longer getting because the market has suddenly changed. This the EPR does offer some protection for municipalities as well as consumers.
Uh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
in the resolution, it says taxpayers will no longer be solely responsible for the cost of recycling or end-of-life management. Do you have a rough estimate of like,
How much?
yep,
No.
magic number?
Sorry. That's probably gettable from one of the other states that has done this, but I don't have that in front of me at this point.
Anything to add? I mean, the resolution itself, which we won't read here, but it talks about a lot of things you mentioned. And again, it's just like city council kind of directing the city on how we would, I guess we would be sending this to support it to our lawmakers.
It would be a resolution that would go to the legislature, right?
Right.
So it doesn't bind the city to anything. What it says, it basically says, we think this is a good idea. That producers have to pay something. They have to show some responsibility for what they're producing because they're producing a whole lot of waste.
Yeah, so I will be supporting this. I think it's important that our laws reflect the severity of the crisis that's happening. And I think that it's hard to make these laws because of the different politics involved, whether it's, pro-business supposedly, or pro-factory, or pro-workers. Everybody has an interest, but it seems like nobody has the true interest of pro-environment. So this resolution at least is something we can put our signatures on and hopefully encourage the state to pass laws that does protect the environment.
And it's not just the blue states that are considering this. If you look at the states that have passed it, yeah, there's a bunch of blue states. You can think of who they might be: California, Washington, Oregon, Minnesota, Maine, Massachusetts might be in there. But the states that are considering them now include a lot of southern states. Tennessee is in there, Kentucky. So it's an idea that is appealing across party lines because basically it says, you have to show some responsibility, guys. And like I said before, our municipalities are at risk, and this helps them out.
Yeah, one other question. I agree with Councilman Jackson. I do think anything that can assist us in our recycling endeavors and assisting our environmental needs. How, with the other countries and the other states that have went forward with this, how has the conversation and communication been with the producers on like redesign of their paper packaging or their end of life products?
My understanding is that it's not the goal of this legislation to tell companies what they can and can't use. They can use whatever they want, but if they're going to design something that is not easily recyclable, they're going to pay more. So that's the incentive. It's not to say, oh, you can't use, this kind of plastic in your product. It's not that kind of a mandate. It's much more a carrot than a stick.
Well, Andy, you don't have to add anything. I just see you're here.
Here, just to see how the conversation.
Recognize Andy Kilpatrick, who's here in attendance from Public Service, or whatever they're called now. All right, I would entertain a motion for the resolution.
Can I quickly ask the committee something? Normally, there is a be further resolved on some of these supporting documents that would go across the street. The last one you guys did had to do with state legislature at red lights. And in that one, it was be it further resolved that the city clerk submit copies of this resolution to the governor of the state of Michigan. In this case, it said Michigan Department of Transportation also, and the Lansing delegation to the Michigan House of Representatives and Senate. Before you take action, is that something you want to consider amending this resolution to add, or you want to wait to full council? And then I'll defer to law if it's something that law thinks could be added as well.
Yeah, I think we should add that. And maybe we can add it, pass it today with that extra paragraph in there.
And we would have to do
Procedurally, you can certainly amend the resolution here in this committee and then send it out as amended and explain, that you made this amendment in committee. There's no legal problem with adding that clause.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah, assist with having to do it
So I'll
during committee.
take a motion. with
Yes, make a motion to move forward with the resolution B, support for extended producer responsibility, EPR policy,
the extra.
with the extra lingo at the end.
All right.
Lingo.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Passes 2-0. This will be on
Monday, the 14th.
Next week, Monday.
Randy. Is this going to be
If you want it, are you saying like for action?
sent or not?
Totally up to you. Coming out
Uh,
of the committee. If you want to speak about it, we can put it on as action.
yeah, let's do
Okay.
that. Great. Well,
And so do you want,
Randy, if you want to come, I mean, I took some good notes and the resolution's pretty good.
I have a scheduling conflict, but I think that there's at least one or two others on the commission who could certainly be there, and speak if there are questions.
Sure. I guess I don't know if there will be. I don't really anticipate much that we can't handle, but if for some reason people are hesitant, I mean, we could always, adjourn it or pull it and see what's going on for later.
Okay. So this will be on
the 14th?
14th on the council
At
agenda.
7.
Okay, so.
All right. Anything else for the good of the committee? Seeing none, we are adjourned 4:46.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy, want to talk for a second?
Hey, I wanted to